Biography of a drop of water. Go to your kitchen, turn on the tap, fill a glass with water, and hold it up to the light. It looks like nothing. It is clear, odorless, and flavorless. If you spill it, it has no shape of its own. It simply submits to the floor, spreading out until it finds the lowest point. We treat it as the ultimate blank slate. We use it to wash away our dirt, to cook our pasta, and to satisfy a thirst we rarely think about until it becomes an emergency. But you are holding a ghost. The liquid in that glass is not new. There's no such thing as new water on Earth. Every sip you take, every splash in your bath, and every raindrop that hits your window has been here for billions of years. The water you are looking at is a veteran of the deep past. It has been frozen in the hearts of comets, boiled in the bellies of volcanoes, and filtered through the kidneys of a Tyrannosaurus rex. Water is the planet's memory. It is a shape-shifting traveler that has seen every era of Earth's history from the inside out. This is the biography of a single drop of water. It is a story of endless, restless transformation. Chapter 1. The Spacefarer. To find the birth of our drop, we have to go back further than the Earth itself. Hydrogen was the firstborn of the Great Glitch, the simplest element in the universe. Oxygen was forged later, in the nuclear furnace of a star, much like our carbon atom. For a long time, they were neighbors who never spoke. But in the freezing, lonely reaches of interstellar space, they finally found each other. 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen, H2O. Our drop began its life as a microscopic crystal of ice clinging to a speck of dust in a cold, dark nebula. It wasn't a drop yet. It was a jagged needle of frost. For millions of years, it drifted in the silence, part of a massive ice truck, a comet. Eventually, the sun ignited. The gravity of the newborn planets began to pull. Our comet was tugged toward the inner solar system, screaming toward a young, molten rock called Earth. When the comet smashed into the planet, it wasn't an act of destruction. It was a delivery. The ice vaporized on impact, turning into a massive shroud of steam that wrapped around the bleeding, volcanic Earth. Our drop was finally home, but the Great Zero was still trying to boil it back into nothingness. Chapter 2. The Great Rain, the First Ocean. Early Earth was a hellscape. It was a world of magma and poison gas. But as the planet began to cool, something miraculous happened. The glitch hit a tipping point. The steam in the atmosphere began to condense. The first clouds formed, massive, bruised-looking things that blotted out the sun. And then it started to rain. This wasn't a summer shower. This was a storm that lasted for centuries. Our drop fell from the sky, hissed as it hit the hot rock, turned back into steam, and rose again. It did this millions of times, a frantic cycle of rising and falling, until the surface finally cooled enough for the water to stay liquid. Our drop joined a trillion others to form the first puddle, then the first pond, and finally, the first ocean. In this era, our drop was a solvent. It was the great dissolver. As it flowed over the volcanic rocks, it tore them apart. It stole minerals, salt, calcium, magnesium, and dragged them into the deep. It was creating the soup of life. It didn't know it yet, but it was building the laboratory where the first cell would eventually be born. Chapter 3. The Heavy Sleep, the Glacier. For a long time, our drop was a wanderer of the currents. But the Earth's climate is a fickle thing. Every few million years, the planet catches a cold. About 20,000 years ago, during the last great ice age, our drop was floating in the North Atlantic. It was evaporated by a chilly wind and carried over the land that we now call Canada. It fell as a snowflake, a delicate 6-sided masterpiece of geometry. It landed on a pile of other snowflakes, and then it waited. More snow fell. The weight became immense. Our drop was crushed. Its delicate arms snapped off, and it was fused into a solid block of blue ice. It became part of a glacier. If the stone is a quiet thing, the glacier is a slow thing. Our drop spent 10,000 years in the dark, buried under 2 miles of ice. It wasn't moving, but it was working. Under the unimaginable pressure, the glacier acted like a giant sheet of sandpaper. Our drop was part of the heavy hand that ground down mountain, carved out the Great Lakes, and smoothed the face of the continent. It was a witness to the silence of the ice. It watched the mammoths go by, their heavy fur matted with frost. It was a prisoner of the cold, waiting for the sun to return. Chapter 4. The Shapeshifter, the Molecular Handshake. We must look at the personality of the drop. Why does it do what it does? Water is a polar molecule. It has a positive end and a negative end. This makes it incredibly sticky. Water molecules love each other. They are constantly reaching out to hold hands with their neighbors. This is called a hydrogen bond. This handshake is the secret to our drop's power. Because it sticks to itself, it can create surface tension. It can climb up the roots of a 300-foot redwood tree against the pull of gravity. It can support the weight of a water strider insect. But this handshake is also a bribe. The drop gives up its independence to become part of a flow. In its liquid state, our drop is the negotiator. It refuses to be compressed. If you try to squeeze a drop of water, it won't shrink. It will just push back or move out of the way. This is why a tidal wave is so destructive. A tsunami isn't just a wall of water, it's a wall of incompressible will. When our drop was part of a storm surge in the Indian Ocean, it wasn't trying to kill, it was simply refusing to be stopped. It was a liquid battering ram, a witness to the raw, mindless power of the glitch. Chapter 5. The Intimate Witness. Eventually, our drop found its way into the most complex machine on Earth, biology. Life is basically just a way for water to walk around on land. Your body is about 60% water. You are a skin bag full of ancient seawater, trying to pretend you aren't. Our drop was once inhaled by a thirsty wolf in the Siberian tundra. It traveled through the wolf's heart, helped regulate its temperature, and was eventually exhaled as vapor. Later, it was trapped in a grape, turned into wine, and sipped by a king in the Renaissance. But the most profound moment in our drop's biography happened in a human eye. Water is the medium of emotion. When you are overwhelmed by grief or joy, your brain signals your lacrimal gland. Our drop, which had once been a tidal wave in a glacier, was suddenly drafted into service as a tear. It rolled down a cheek carrying a tiny amount of salt and protein. In that moment, the drop was a witness to the human glitch, that strange, localized explosion of consciousness and feeling. For a few seconds, the drop was the physical manifestation of a broken heart. It was no longer a cosmic force, it was a tiny, wet piece of a biography that wasn't its own. Then, it fell. It hit the ground, evaporated, and went back to work. Water has no time for sentiment, it has a cycle to maintain. Chapter 6. The Great Reincarnation. This is the central drama of the drop's life. It is the only thing on Earth that can be a solid, a liquid, and a gas all at the same time. The stone stays a stone, carbon stays an atom, but water is a reincarnation machine. In the sky, it is a ghost. It is invisible vapor or a fluffy white cloud hitchhiking on the jet stream. In the ocean, it is a titan. It is part of the great conveyor belt, moving heat from the equator to the poles, keeping the planet from freezing or frying. On the land, it is a sculptor. It is the rain that feeds the forest and the river that eats the canyon. Every time our drop evaporates, it is purified. It leaves the salt behind. It leaves the dirt behind. It sheds its past lives and starts over. It is the only thing that can be dirty and clean 1,000,000 times over without ever wearing out. The universe loves entropy, disorder, but water is the counter-agent. It organizes itself into snowflakes. It organizes itself into cells. It is the fluid of life because it provides the medium where things can happen. It is the dance floor of the universe. Chapter 7. The Final Inhale. But even the drop is not safe from the will of the black hole. Gravity is always pulling it down. The river wants to reach the sea. The sea wants to stay in its basin. And eventually, over billions of years, the Earth will lose its battle with the sun. As the sun ages, it will get hotter. One day, a few billion years from now, the oceans will begin to boil for the last time. Our drop will be turned into steam and blasted off the planet by the solar wind. It will return to the freezing dark of space, back to its original state as a crystal of ice drifting in the void. The great inhale will reclaim it. The story will come full circle. You can finish that glass of water now. As you swallow, think about what you are doing. You are participating in a 4-billion-year-old relay race. That water is entering your blood. It will bathe your brain. It will help your neurons fire so you can understand this sentence. You are drinking the same molecules that Leonardo da Vinci drank. You are drinking the sweat of a gladiator and the dew from a prehistoric fern. You are drinking a substance that has seen the birth of mountain and the death of empire. It is the great witness. It doesn't judge and it doesn't remember your name, but it carries the history of the world in its molecular handshake. When you finish that glass, the drop will stay with you for a while. It will be you for a few hours, and then it will move on. It has other places to be. It has a cloud to join, a river to carve, and a future to witness. You're just a temporary container. The water is the one who's really in charge.